Discovering infidelity feels like your world is falling apart, and the toughest question arises, is it still worth trying to save my marriage? Today, I'm going to show you the 7 clear signs that a marriage can't be saved after betrayal. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the answers you need to decide what's best for you and your happiness. 1. Lack of remorse from the cheater. When infidelity is uncovered, genuine remorse from the person who cheated is one of the most critical factors in determining whether the marriage has a chance to be saved. Remorse isn't just saying, "I'm sorry," or promising it won't happen again. It's reflected in concrete actions and attitudes that demonstrate regret, acknowledgement of the harm caused, and a real willingness to change. If the cheater shows no signs of remorse, it may indicate they don't understand or value the emotional impact their actions have had on you. This lack of empathy is a red flag that they might not be willing to put in the necessary work to rebuild the relationship. That includes being honest about what happened, listening to how you feel, and accepting that trust needs to be rebuilt gradually. The absence of remorse can show up in different ways. They might try to downplay the affair, saying things like, "It wasn't that bad," or "You're overreacting." They may even shift the blame onto you, claiming your behavior or actions forced them to cheat. These responses are deeply hurtful because, on top of the betrayal itself, you feel invalidated and disrespected. Genuine remorse is essential because it's the first step in any healing process. Without it, it's impossible to create a solid foundation for the future. When they don't show remorse, the message they're sending is that they don't truly take responsibility for their actions, which could lead to repeating the behavior in the future. You deserve to be in a relationship where you feel valued, respected, and heard. If the lack of remorse is evident, the emotional burden of trying to rebuild falls entirely on you, which is both unfair and unsustainable. A marriage requires mutual effort, and without that willingness from the one who made the mistake, the imbalance makes it nearly impossible for the relationship to thrive again. Recognizing the lack of remorse can be painful, but it's also liberating. It allows you to see the situation clearly and realize that it's not your responsibility to fix what's broken on your own. Instead, you can start focusing your energy on taking care of yourself and considering what's best for your future. 2. Lack of open communication. After infidelity, open communication becomes the essential foundation for any attempt at reconciliation. Without it, efforts to rebuild the marriage often fail. Honest and respectful dialogue is crucial for expressing feelings, addressing doubts, and creating a mutual understanding of what happened and how to move forward. The lack of communication can manifest in many ways. Perhaps they avoid talking about the issue, saying things like, "I don't want to discuss this anymore," or "Why are you still bringing this up?" This silence isn't just frustrating, it's also a barrier to healing. You might feel alone, carrying the weight of pain and unanswered questions, while they seem indifferent or even irritated by your need to process and understand the situation. On the other hand, communication might exist but be toxic. If conversations about the betrayal frequently turn into arguments, blame shifting, or manipulation, that's not true communication. It may feel like they're more focused on defending themselves or blaming you rather than truly listening to how you feel or taking responsibility for their actions. Open communication requires courage and commitment from both sides. They need to be willing to listen without interrupting or deflecting. They must also show patience with your questions, even if they're repetitive, because that's how you process and begin to rebuild trust. At the same time, you need to feel safe expressing your emotions without fear of judgment or criticism. If this kind of open and respectful exchange doesn't happen, it becomes clear that the relationship lacks one of the key tools for recovery. This can lead to resentment, emotional distance, and a disconnection that makes the marriage unsustainable. The absence of open communication after infidelity isn't just an immediate problem, it's a warning sign of what might lie ahead. Without dialogue, there's no way to address deeper issues in the relationship, and you risk being stuck in a constant cycle of frustration and misunderstandings. If you're finding this content helpful and want to learn more about navigating difficult situations in marriage, please give this video a like to help me reach more people. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and share your experiences or questions in the comments. Your voice matters and could help other women going through similar challenges. 3. Repeated infidelity. When infidelity happens more than once, the emotional impact multiplies, and the possibility of rebuilding trust almost vanishes. Repeated betrayal shows that the commitment to change isn't genuine and that harmful behavior patterns persist. This makes it clear that, no matter the efforts made, the respect and loyalty, fundamental pillars of any marriage, have been compromised. If they cheated again, even after facing the consequences of the first betrayal, it reveals that they didn't value the opportunity to rebuild the relationship. Repeated infidelity isn't just a mistake. It's a deliberate choice to act against the commitment they made to you. It's natural at this point to question whether it's worth investing in someone who continues to prioritize their own desires over the emotional stability of the relationship. The pain of repeated betrayal goes beyond the breach of trust. It deeply affects your self-esteem, leaving you wondering if you're enough or if something is wrong with you. These doubts can be devastating, but it's important to remember that the responsibility for the betrayal lies solely with the person who made that decision. It's not something you caused, nor something you could have prevented. Additionally, repeated infidelity creates an environment of constant insecurity. Even if you want to believe promises of change, a history of repeated betrayal makes it incredibly difficult to trust again. And without trust, the foundation of a marriage crumbles, turning daily life into an emotional struggle. Another important aspect is whether they are genuinely seeking help to understand and change their behavior. Often, people who repeatedly cheat are unwilling to acknowledge their own faults or work on their personal issues. Without that willingness, any attempt to save the marriage will be one-sided, placing an unfair emotional burden on you. Repeated betrayal also suggests that your values and goals may no longer align. If fidelity isn't a priority for them, it's unlikely that a healthy and respectful partnership can exist. Recognizing repeated infidelity as a sign that the marriage may not be salvageable is hard, but it's also a crucial step to protect your emotional well-being. You deserve a relationship where respect and commitment are genuine, not a cycle of excuses and empty promises. Prioritizing yourself in this situation isn't selfish. It's a way to reclaim your peace and dignity. If you're struggling with a difficult time in your marriage, learn how to deal with infidelity and rebuild trust in your relationship. The Happy Couples Guide is the resource you need to overcome this challenge and find happiness again. Get your copy now. Link in first pinned comment. 4. Lack of interest in seeking professional help. When infidelity shakes a marriage, seeking professional help can be crucial for rebuilding the relationship. However, if one partner shows no interest or outright refuses to engage in this process, it may be a sign that the marriage is on an irreversible path. Couples or individual therapy is a powerful tool for understanding the root causes of problems, managing intense emotions, and finding ways to overcome challenges. Ignoring or rejecting this resource makes it significantly harder to address both the issues that led to the betrayal and those that arose afterward. If they refuse to seek help, it could mean several things. Perhaps they don't see the infidelity as a big problem or aren't willing to face the consequences of their actions. It could also indicate a lack of commitment to the relationship, as therapy requires time, effort, and, most importantly, a willingness to change. This disinterest often reflects an emotional disconnection from you and the marriage, making it nearly impossible to rebuild trust and respect. Furthermore, the lack of openness to therapy can leave you feeling frustrated and isolated, especially if you're willing to do whatever it takes to save the relationship. This imbalance in emotional effort is exhausting and can lead to the feeling that you're fighting alone for something that should be a shared priority. Marriage is a partnership, and without both parties being equally invested, the chances of success are slim. It's also important to note that professional help isn't just about fixing the marriage. Therapy often helps individuals better understand themselves, their needs, and the traumas or behaviors that may be sabotaging the relationship. Refusing this opportunity means missing out on a valuable chance for personal growth, which directly impacts the health of the relationship. When they show no interest in seeking help, it could also be a sign of denial or emotional immaturity. In some cases, refusing therapy is a clear indication that they're unwilling to take responsibility for their actions and work to correct their mistakes. Recognizing this lack of interest as a problem is difficult but necessary. You deserve a relationship where both partners are equally committed to overcoming challenges. Without that willingness, staying in the marriage may be more harmful to you than letting it go. 5. Resistance to rebuilding trust. When infidelity occurs, the trust between partners is deeply shaken, and rebuilding it requires time, patience, and mutual effort. However, if one partner actively resists this process, whether through unwillingness or refusal to change the behaviors that caused the crisis, it becomes clear that the marriage is facing nearly insurmountable barriers. Rebuilding trust isn't simple. It involves complete transparency, from being willing to answer tough questions to accepting the need to give up certain freedoms, like keeping secrets or maintaining contact with the person involved in the betrayal. If they resist these changes, you may find yourself feeling constantly insecure, unable to relax, or fully believe their words. This resistance often surfaces through excuses like, "You just need to trust me again," or "I already apologized. What more do you want?" These responses dismiss the time required to heal such deep wounds and ignore the fact that forgiveness and rebuilding trust are processes, not immediate demands. This attitude shifts the entire burden onto you, as if your difficulty in trusting again is the problem, rather than the betrayal itself. Another crucial aspect of rebuilding trust is consistency. Small, honest, and responsible actions over time are what truly restore security in a relationship. When they're unwilling to be consistent, it's a clear indication that they're not committed to the healing process. This could involve continuing suspicious behaviors, neglecting your emotional needs, or even acting as though the betrayal should be forgotten quickly. Additionally, resistance to rebuilding trust reveals a lack of commitment to the relationship's future. This creates an emotionally draining environment for you, where doubts and insecurities become a constant part of daily life. Such instability can take a toll on your self-esteem, mental health, and ability to make clear decisions about what's best for you. Recognizing this resistance may be painful, but it's also a necessary step to protect your peace of mind. A relationship can only recover from infidelity if both partners are willing to commit to the healing process. Without that commitment, staying in the relationship could mean accepting a pattern of disrespect and insecurity that doesn't align with the love and partnership you deserve. Prioritizing your happiness and well-being is the first step to moving forward, with or without them. 6. Lack of interest in restoring emotional and physical intimacy. Infidelity in a marriage doesn't just break trust, it also disrupts emotional and physical intimacy. When these connections are lost, it can be a clear sign that the relationship is in serious trouble and, in many cases, beyond repair. A lack of interest in restoring intimacy after infidelity reveals a deep disconnect between the partners, making it incredibly difficult to rebuild any solid foundation for the relationship. Emotional intimacy is the deepest bond two partners can share. It's built on trust, understanding, and a willingness to be vulnerable with one another. When betrayal occurs, many women experience pain so overwhelming that communication and emotional sharing become strained. However, if he shows no effort to reconnect emotionally or isn't willing to open up to you honestly, it's evident that he's not invested in restoring the relationship. Physical intimacy, another vital component of marriage, can be even more challenging to repair after infidelity. The distrust and hurt caused by betrayal can create physical barriers between partners. However, a lack of effort from either side to rebuild this connection may indicate that the marriage is beyond saving. If he shows no interest in being affectionate, withdraws emotionally and physically, or continues to act cold and indifferent, it reflects a disinterest in mending the relationship. Additionally, failing to restore both physical and emotional intimacy can be a form of devaluation. It signals that he doesn't see the relationship as something worth healing or revitalizing. It may also indicate that he genuinely no longer cares or is more focused on avoiding his own emotional struggles than doing the work needed to repair the bond. If he doesn't show a willingness to reconnect or seek ways to emotionally bridge the gap, it can lead to a cycle of loneliness within the relationship, leaving you feeling increasingly distant and ignored. This sense of disconnection is often unbearable, creating a void that's difficult to fill. When one partner doesn't invest in restoring intimacy, the marriage loses its purpose as a safe and nurturing space. A lack of interest in rekindling this connection is a clear sign that staying in the relationship might mean remaining stuck in a situation that no longer brings happiness or growth. At times like this, it's crucial to remember that you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel loved, respected, and connected, not trapped in a cycle of frustration and pain. 7. Lack of genuine remorse and behavior change. One of the biggest challenges after infidelity is determining whether your partner is truly remorseful and committed to change. Genuine remorse isn't just a superficial apology or empty words spoken in the heat of the moment. It's reflected in real behavior changes and a clear commitment to avoid repeating past mistakes. When this change doesn't occur, it's a strong indication that the marriage may have reached an irreversible point. When someone is genuinely remorseful, it's evident in their daily actions. It's not enough to apologize once and expect everything to go back to normal. They need to consistently show that they understand the gravity of what they've done and are willing to make amends. This involves transparency, accountability, and ongoing effort to rebuild trust. If they continue to lie, downplay the situation, or worse, justify the infidelity, it's clear that there's no genuine remorse. This type of behavior only prolongs the pain and suffering, making it impossible to restore the relationship in a healthy way. Another clear sign of a lack of genuine remorse is the absence of behavior change. If, after the infidelity, they persist in behaviors that made them vulnerable to temptation, such as engaging in intimate conversations with others or continuing actions that show disrespect for the relationship, it indicates that they haven't learned from the experience. Behavioral change doesn't happen overnight, but it should be visible over time. If you notice that no effort is being made to correct the patterns that led to the infidelity, it's time to reflect on what that means for your relationship. Genuine remorse also involves internal change and emotional growth. Infidelity is often a reflection of unresolved personal issues, and those issues need to be addressed for the relationship to have any chance of survival. If they're unwilling to confront their own flaws or seek help to work through their emotional struggles, it demonstrates a lack of accountability for the situation. You cannot carry the burden of change in a relationship on your own. If they're not doing their part, the risk of staying in the relationship becomes increasingly higher. A healthy relationship depends on two committed partners. When one of them fails to show genuine remorse or a willingness to change, it creates an imbalance that is difficult, if not impossible, to overcome. If you relate to this situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's build a supportive community where we can share experiences, because everyone deserves to be in relationships founded on respect, love, and, most importantly, mutual growth. Leave a like if this content resonated with you, and don't forget to share your perspective with us. If you are struggling with a difficult time in your marriage, learn how to deal with infidelity and rebuild trust in your relationship. The Happy Couples Guide is the resource you need to overcome this challenge and find happiness again. Get your copy now, link in first pinned comment.